Well, hello and welcome to the Authentic Joe Show. I am Jolena Johnson, your host. My first name is Joe and my middle name is Lena. Joe means love and Lena means light. And I'm here to help hopefully bring some love and light to your world and to the world. I'm so honored and pleased to be here today. Can you believe it? It's 2 days before Thanksgiving. It is really a time to be grateful, grateful for the victories and the failures. I want to tell you today that our show is called Matters of the Heart. And if you saw the promo, it may not be what you think it is. It is about a young woman at 47 years old who had a heart attack. This is important because oftentimes we're doing things from our heart and we're doing what we think is right. And then all of a sudden something happens and it comes and changes everything. And so we want to talk about that, why it happened, what happened, and maybe give you some advice if you have any challenges, or maybe you're a caregiver. Maybe you're not a caregiver yet, but maybe you'll be a caregiver soon. So here we go. Happy Thanksgiving in advance. Happy holidays in advance. And I can't wait for you to listen to the show and hopefully participate. Somebody's going to put the StreamYard link in the YouTube. And so if you want to come and join us, you can. And then we're also live on Facebook. So I want to welcome you all tonight. Okay, let me welcome our guest, Dora T. Hi, Dora. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so honored that you're here and pleased that you're going to help us tell your story. And I just want to welcome you. You are our first guest from another sorority. I don't know if you know that we had a Who's the Best Fraternity show about a month ago. And yes. And so I'm not doing a Who's the Best Sorority show. Okay. However, I will give kudos to your organization for being the first Black Greek organization in the country. How about that?
Very welcomed. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sure if anybody cares, they'll know exactly what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
Outstanding. So, Dora, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I did give the big thing, which is that you had the heart attack at 47. You did clarify that you were actually 2 weeks away from your 47th birthday. So you were actually 46 when you had the heart attack. Mm-hmm. But can you tell us just a little bit about your life? The nature of your work, even if you don't want to tell us what you did, but just kind of tell us a little bit about that. So we'll get your background before you tell us what actually happened.
Sure. So as far as my career is concerned, I'm a special education administrator. So that in itself has a heavy toll with it. I am also the caregiver to my two elderly parents, one who is disabled, and then I have a brother who is autistic. So my career and my personal life intertwine greatly. So with regards to the heart attack, it was on a Sunday, and I was preparing to go to church, and I felt some chest pain. I honestly thought that it was gas. I didn't think anything else because the night before I had gone out with my cousin and we had tried a new restaurant. So I thought that the food just didn't agree with me. And the pain was mild in the beginning. So I was getting dressed from my place to my car. I don't even think it's 50 feet, but I was out of breath. It was just, I was like, ooh, what is going on here? And so I got in the car. I said, oh, it'll pass. I got in the car. I was driving to church, which is about 40 minutes away.
Okay.
So I was in the car and I started feeling nauseous. And for me, I rarely throw up. If I throw up, I'm deathly ill. So I just started feeling nauseous. But I kept going because, again, I didn't think anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to church, and it got a little heavier, the pain. But again, I was like, oh, this is just a really, bad case that I have of gas.
May I interrupt you? Yes.
Sure.
So when you say heavier, what is that, you
So
know,
pressure.
pressure in your chest?
Yes.
Okay.
In my
Okay, good.
chest, the pressure
Okay.
in my chest.
Okay.
So um it got to a point where I felt that I needed to lay on the pew on the road that I was in. I felt a need to lay down because I thought maybe that would make it better. Um, Church ended. I left. I said, well, my parents live about 5 minutes away. I'll just get there. I'll get some Tums or something to relieve the pressure. And, I would feel a little bit better.
Okay.
Um, I walked into my parents' house and I went upstairs. So I went up a flight of stairs. Um, and then I came back down a flight of stairs. And at that time, my father, who um, had a stroke, he's based in that on that main level. So he has a bed that's there. Um, and like I've told people, I feel like the bed caught me.
Mm.
So at that point in time, I, asked my dad if he could pass me the phone because I wasn't feeling well and I needed to call 911. And at that point, it felt like someone was stepping on me. Like that's just how bad the pain got, and I felt like I was grasping for air. So I called 911. Um, I talked to them the whole entire time. I had to provide them with information, and so um, because I'm the primary caregiver, that's not necessarily information that my parents knew because I'm the one that had all the information for them versus them having any information on me.
Gotcha.
So I calmly went through that 911 call. Um, they came to the house, which they were familiar with because of my dad.
Mm-hmm.
So when they came in and they saw me, they were like, "Oh no, this isn't good," And they came over, started doing the EKG, and they said to me, "Dora, you're having a heart attack." I said, "Who?
Mm.
What do you mean?" And they were like, "You're having a heart attack." So they did it again, and sure enough, I was having the heart attack, and they said that they needed to rush me to the hospital. In rushing me to the hospital, they provided me with a pill, which happened to be nitroglycerin. So that would help with the heart attack and the pain. Um, One didn't work, so they had to give me another one. Um, at that point, I had gotten to the hospital. All I remember them saying to me was, Dora, we're prepping you for surgery. So after that, I don't know what happened until I got to ICU. Um, in ICU, I was there for 3 days. Um, I have a stent that has been placed in my right coronary artery. There was 80% blockage and a blood clot. So they did tell me that the 911 folks said that I was really lucky because I had actually gone up a flight of stairs and came back down a flight of stairs, which I should not have done.
Yes.
So I was very lucky, and had I prolonged the call, um, things could be very different right now. Um, so I'm very grateful. Very.
I'm grateful too. And of course, I have many questions. I
Sure.
take lots of notes.
Okay.
So, how many hours was it between the first time you started feeling bad when you went from the restaurant, I guess, to your to
So it was Sunday morning, so it was about 9 a.m.
okay?
And by the time I had contacted 911 and got to my parents' house, it was around 1 o'clock or shortly thereafter.
So, Dora, you were at the church house
I was at the church
and
house.
you had to lay on the pew.
I had to lay on the pew.
Now, oh yes, this is a good comment. Okay, this is true. Okay, this is the comment. Brittany said God was watching over you. Bless.
Absolutely. Absolutely,
See,
Brittany.
she saved you a little bit. So hold on. How you gonna be laying on the pew and then not say, maybe I need to go to the hospital? Or why didn't somebody at the church say, this isn't normal? Maybe we need to, what happened?
So, with regards to the church, my parents had many questions about that as well. But you have to remember, we were just coming back to in service in
Okay.
person.
Okay.
So, the staff that we normally have was not there. And so, for me, for someone to see me, was probably a little bit difficult. Um, Although, I do stand out, my hair is a little toned down today. However, at that time, it was your color, your hair
Okay.
color.
Okay.
So, but I didn't think anything else. I just thought, "Ooh, this is a really bad case of indigestion." Get it. I didn't think anything.
Okay. So I don't mean to interrupt. One of the
Sure.
reasons I wanted you on the show is because I think it's pretty rare, although it's probably happening more now. It's probably rare that someone who's basically 47 would have a heart attack. And
Right.
I want people to get why this is important and relevant to them. And one of the reasons is lifestyle makes a difference. And I
Oh,
believe
absolutely.
stress makes a difference. And we're going to get into that in a minute. However,
Mhm.
the fact that it was between 9 to 1 and
Yes,
you did not seek any help until you fell on the bed.
correct.
So what was going, if you can recall, and I mean you weren't probably in your right mind. What do you think? You just thought it was minor and it would just
Yeah.
pass?
Because as a kid, I had a bad case of gas so bad they thought it was my appendix, and we went to the 911, we did all of that, and
Okay.
it was nothing. So to me, it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I just, oh, I'll be okay. Let me just get to my parents' house. Let me get some Tums or,
Mm-hmm.
something. I'll be all right. I'll just ask my mom. She'll probably tell me to drink some hot water and it'll go away. And,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be fine.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
um,
I get it because that's what we do oftentimes. And I don't know about men because I'm not a man, but I know women will be working at our desk or we'll be cooking or we'll be helping somebody do something and we'll hold it and we have to go to the bathroom and we'll just hold it. I'm sorry for the men who are watching, but we'll just hold it waiting until we finally decide to just go. And it's like, why am I doing that to myself? Why can't I just stop what I'm doing, pay attention to my body, pay attention to how I'm feeling, acknowledge that, and take care of myself? We're so programmed.
yes. And so in being programmed, there were some signs that things were going to happen that I absolutely did not pay attention to, that started in January.
Okay, so do you mind? So you had the heart attack in April. Do you mind sharing a couple of those things so in case people
Sure.
experience them? Okay.
So in January, I started losing weight, and I didn't think anything of it. My doctors were a little concerned. So from January to March 20th, I dropped about 70 pounds.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And for me, I was all right with it because I was like, ooh, okay. I'm thinking I'm cute and everything. And so I didn't, you know, my back started hurting.
After
Um,
you lost the weight?
yeah, so all of these signs and symptoms were happening at the same time,
Okay.
and I ignored them, bottom
Okay.
line.
Okay.
So between there was the weight loss, there was the lower back pain, there was the hip pain, and so there was a lot of things that, you know, I took some Tylenol and said, "Oh, it'll be okay." You know, not knowing that I had been destructive to my body.
Okay. Now I have to interrupt.
Sure.
What does lower back pain and hip pain have to do with anything? Why were those signs or symptoms? I don't know that I would have thought that.
So in my particular case, I have also been diagnosed with lupus.
Okay.
So it was a lupus flare.
Okay. Okay.
And I was at a point in my career and also a point as a caretaker
Mhm.
where I let those things slide because I had stuff that I needed to get done. And I
Yes.
did not have time for any shenanigans
Mhm.
to include any pain or anything that was going to distract me from what I needed to get done.
Mhm.
So, those things were, triggers, and the lupus flare um triggered the heart attack.
Okay.
So, and what triggered the lupus flare was stress.
Wow. Okay. So lupus is an autoimmune disease, I believe.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so, may I ask how long you've had it? Like
I
five?
was diagnosed in 2004.
Okay. So over 15 years.
Hmm.
No,
More
10
than
years.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. So was it because you were having signs and symptoms then of something going on, and then they found out that you had lupus? Is that what happened?
No. So, when I got to the hospital, these days your records, can transfer over and over. So,
Mm-hmm.
just I guess in testing me and having to put the stent in, and I guess, which I don't remember, they did ask me some questions about my lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
and so I shared that with them. And so when I was able to understand, be coherent,
Mm-hmm.
they came in and they spoke to me, and they did let me know that the stress that I was under triggered a flare that triggered the heart attack.
Okay. I want to stop right here and say thank you to those who are watching on YouTube, and thank you to those who are watching on Facebook Live. We really appreciate it. Tonight's topic, as you can hear, is matters of the heart. And Dora had a heart attack 2 weeks before her 47th birthday. And we're talking about the signs and symptoms of heart attack, lifestyle choices, and what we can perhaps hopefully do as a result of this show. Maybe make you more aware of some of the choices you're making, how you're treating yourself. Are you paying attention to things? And also, because your heart is so big, maybe you're giving it all away and then you're not really paying attention. But the thing of it is if we give everything away, then we have nothing left for ourselves. So I just want to say that. So also, if you like what you're hearing, please like the show and please also share the link. Okay. So I just want to say that. So thank you, YouTube and Facebook, and our faithful followers as well. Okay. Dora, so you mentioned, okay, so I have a question. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Sure.
So you mentioned your dad had a stroke and you had a heart attack. And you also mentioned that you had a stent placed in your right coronary artery, that you had an 80% blockage and a blood clot.
Yeah.
What's the primary difference between a stroke and a heart attack?
So the stroke is more of the brain,
Okay.
whereas the heart attack is obvious, your heart.
Okay. But people have strokes because they have blood clots in their brains, right?
Yes.
Ah, okay. So do blood clots run in your family?
So no, they actually don't. But I have to think about I think it was in 2014. I had what they call a TIA, which is a mini version of a stroke.
Mm. And you were how old in 2014?
Well, how old am I now? 47. So I was in my 30s. So
Wow.
early 30s. Yeah.
Yes.
So or late 30s.
Okay.
So um and since being diagnosed with lupus in 2004, it wasn't until 2014 that I had any problems.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to watch my stress after that. Clearly, I didn't do a very good job. So, um, but lifestyle choices,
Mm-hmm.
definitely
Just lay down a bit.
a big one.
Mm-hmm. Lifestyle
Definitely,
choices.
yes.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask, what is the 80% blockage? Is that the blood clot that blocked or something else that did it?
So it was just a blockage. And for most people, if they have a heart attack, the first thing they're going to say it is probably your cholesterol level and what you're eating.
Okay.
You know, my cholesterol was high, but it wasn't that high to cause the heart attack.
Okay.
So inflammation in my particular case.
Mm-hmm.
So if your arteries are clogged because they're so inflamed, there's no way that the blood can properly flow through.
Gotcha. Okay. I just feel emotional because it's so much, Dora. And
It is.
we talked, but I purposely did not ask you a lot of questions because I wanted this to be a from the heart interview.
Yes,
And I
ma'am.
just feel so overwhelmed. Now that you said that you're a special education administrator, I have a feeling. Let me just guess, because you did say that your brother is autistic, and your brother is older than you, so you've only known an autistic sibling, and he's now grown.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go into special education because of your brother?
I did.
Oh my gosh! So in your head, you wanted to try to help people like your brother.
Yeah, and when we were coming up, they helped him, and
Yes.
parents, especially foreign parents. Um, Both my parents are from Ghana, West Africa. So,
Oh, okay.
coming to a country and then to find out that, your child has special needs is difficult. And there are some cultures that don't understand that, nor will they accept help for that.
Gotcha.
So, the fact that David had all of that support um, was to me comforting, and as I got older, I I didn't I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
So I fell into um, teaching, and then I fell into special ed.
Okay.
So again, like Brittany said, God was watching out for me.
Mm-hmm.
So um, but it just all runs together.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, again, I'm so happy you're here. I want to bring up the next part of your stress. So,
Sure.
being a caregiver.
Yes. Yes.
So, what did you start to do differently once you had the heart attack? Because you did say you have elderly parents and
Yes.
a disabled parent, including being elderly, and
Mhm.
your autistic brother.
Yes.
So, once you were in ICU for 3 days, which I wrote down.
Yes.
When you came home, did you go home to your house, or did you go home to your parents' house?
So this is where we had a slight issue.
Okay.
Um, because I was at their house, I went to their local hospital. So
Okay.
all my stuff was at their house anyway. And um, parents, especially African American parents, if their child is sick, they want to make sure their child is okay. I
Mhm.
stayed there for one night, and then I drove myself home. So,
Not one night, Dora. I thought you were gonna say a week.
no, no. So, and and anybody that knows me will say Dora loves her parents, like that. They're my heart and soul. Um, but at that point, I've been in the hospital for 3 days, and you told me that you had to do surgery on me, and now I have a foreign object in my heart. I had a heart attack, and my birthday is in a couple of days. I'm you you start feeling things.
Yes.
And you start realizing that you might not have been able to make it
Yes.
to 47.
Yes.
So I needed to be in a space where I was by myself. Um, by the time Sunday rolled around a week later, it was my birthday. I cried and I cried and I cried that whole entire morning because I might not have made it.
Yes.
Sometimes God is talking to us, but we're not still, so we can't hear him. We're so busy doing other things, we're not able to hear what he's trying to say.
Yes.
So in my case, he had to knock me down completely. He was like, this little girl's she's not listening to me. She's not hearing me. I need her to get it together. So he had to knock me down completely.
Okay.
And, in knocking me down, I had to shut it all the way down. My parents, they've done really well in these last few months with doing things on their own, and going to appointments. My dad has an aide. My mom has been going to some of her appointments by herself because she doesn't want to stress me out. So it's I think been a learning lesson for us all.
So you had to kind of let go of those reins so
did.
that they could find their independence, so they could take care of themselves and they have themselves, so you can heal. And so you can also realize, wow, my name is Dora T, not Jesus T.
Right. And, I'm a fixer.
Oh, really?
So
somehow I think we have that in common. Go ahead.
So, I try to make sure that everything is right. And you try to make sure that your parents are good. It was very difficult for me to not do stuff.
Yes.
Even I have a work phone. I got in trouble. I was checking email and I was like, I got to make sure my kids are okay. I was doing the most.
Yes. Okay.
I can see that now, but at the time, I was still in the mode of I have to take care of my kids. I got to make sure they're okay because the parents are going to be like, well, where is Miss T today? I was again thinking of other people first before thinking about myself.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for admitting that. And I think a lot of people can relate. I certainly can relate. And it can be very hefty lessons. And again, you made it. You're a walking miracle. You made it. And so I hope that people are paying attention, because if they are paying attention, then maybe they can catch it before something so drastic happens. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to invite another guest on real quick, and you have met her before, Dora. We're going to invite. Oh, she came in, Nurse Kimmy B, Nurse Kimmy. And how are you tonight, Nurse Kimmy? Oh, we can't hear you. You're on mute. You're muted.
Sorry about that, ladies. So I'm doing great, Jolena and Dora. How are you today? It's good to see you again.
Okay, so Dora, I'm going to ask him a few questions. Okay, you can come in if you want, but I'm going to, when we finish, I'm going to ask you the question: what advice would you give to someone such as yourself or ourselves who are young, on the young side, but have big hearts and try to take the load off everybody else? So I want you to give us some advice in a few minutes, okay? Okay. Kim, thank you so much. Nurse Kim, thank you for joining us. And I'd like you to, you heard Dora's story, and you heard about caregiving. And so can you give us a few bits of advice about people who are in caregiving positions? And I do want to share one thing before you do. I don't know if people know, but we are in a silver tsunami. And the silver tsunami is 10 years long. And it's when 10,000 people turn 65 every single day for 10 years. That is the silver tsunami. So 10,000 people every single day for 10 years are turning 65. Our society is aging. And if you are not already a caregiver, it is very likely that you will either become a caregiver or you will need care. That is why this is so important. And as Dora said, she believed God sat her down because she was not listening. She was not paying attention. He had given her all the signs and she didn't do anything about it. And I will say something very similar happened to me. I was very ill and I did not know. I had all the symptoms. I had headaches. My throat was dry all the time. I was having bloating. I was doing this and all this and all this. And come to find out, I had diabetes. And the doctor said, you probably had it for about 5 years. I didn't, the back of my neck was getting dark. Some patches on my skin were getting dark. And it's because when you have blood sugar that's flowing through your veins unchecked, it can mess up everything. And so when I say I relate to what you're saying, I thank goodness I didn't have a heart attack like you did, but this was very dangerous. And my A1C was so high. He's like, I'm surprised you haven't fainted. I'm surprised this, I'm surprised that. And I love to drink water. I'm always drinking water, but I'm always thirsty. And he also said, once you're thirsty, that means you're already dehydrated. So I thank the Lord that he gave me a taste for water. I love it. Okay. And so I believe that's the only reason I didn't have more effects in all those years, because I was already drinking water. So that's my tip. Drink water, you guys. Okay. Not just any water, but drink water, filtered water, distilled water, purified water that can help your body. And the more you get in, the better. So that's my tip. And so, Kim, can you tell us, in terms of a caregiving perspective, what are some things that we need to know about? Because if we are taking care of others, we're oftentimes ignoring ourselves.
That is so true, Jolene. And when you said silver, was it tsunami that we're in? It makes me think, women in our age group, early 50s, we may be taking care of our parents, like Dora, and maybe taking care of maybe grandchildren or teens. So it is the sandwich generation that we're in. So when we think about stress of elderly parents and children or grandchildren, we also have to think about, okay, what am I doing for myself? Self-care. Some of the things that we need to think about doing. You gotta look at, say, if your relative is hospitalized. As a nurse, I've seen family members come up to try to sit with their relative, which is good, but if they're the primary caregiver, they need to take that time while their relatives in the hospital to go home, get things organized, most importantly, get some sleep. That's very important. So as a caregiver, you need to, if your loved one is in the hospital, let that staff do their job and take care of them. You may want to peep in and say hello, but you don't need to go up to the hospital and sit for hours on end. Okay. That's what the nursing staff is there for, to help to help that patient and take care of them and get them well and get them back home to you. Also, if you're the caregiver, you need to talk to someone. Talk to a friend. There's so much information out there. We've got our phones, our mini computers here. Google search, go in a chat, find someone somewhere online is talking about your issue, and just find someone to talk to. Just find something that you do and don't feel guilty about it. So find something that you like to do. Don't feel guilty about it. If you want to go watch a movie, go there. I know a lot of times we think, oh, I just don't have time to do it. But sometimes you just have to take yourself out of the situation so you can regroup. The other thing I wanted to say is that it's important to think about the stress level. Cortisol is a stress hormone. So when you're stressed out, your cortisol levels rise, and those can affect your cholesterol levels, increase your blood pressure, and increase your blood sugar levels. So when you think about diabetes or heart attack, stroke, that is can be related to your stress hormone levels. So we as women, or anyone, particularly women, because we have different symptoms sometimes than men do. Like you mentioned, Dora, the back pain. That's something, you may not think that a lot of people don't think is related to heart attacks,
right?
But it can be. And feeling nauseous and the lightheadedness and sweating. So I'm so happy that, you did say, hey, I got to call 911. Something's not right.
Once the bed caught her, she called 911.
Right. Yeah. Laid out on the pew. Yeah, it was probably time to call then. But
I just, again, people always say, Dora, you need to rest. And my thing is, what is rest? What does that look like? I don't know, because I never saw that from my mom. She just turned 78 and she's still going. She's still going. So I don't know what rest looks like.
Okay, so do you still not know what rest looks like, Dora?
I'm going to say I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
And the reason behind me saying yes is I'm not doing it.
Yes, I appreciate your honesty. And so here's what I would say. The number one cause of conflict is lack of or miscommunication. Let me say that again. The number one cause of conflict is lack of or miscommunication. And oftentimes our bodies are telling us something, or our circumstance or our environment is telling us something, but we are not paying attention, we're not listening, or we're misreading the signs. So every single day when you wake up, I believe you need to say, I am grateful to be alive. Thank you, Lord, for giving me breath and another day. And then you need to ask, what should I be up to today? And pay attention and start to create certain things for you to do. So every day, just like you had that routine, which may be going over to your parents' house and setting up this appointment and doing this and doing that, start to do that for yourself. What do you like to do? What are you willing to do? You have to ask myself, what am I willing to do to save my own life? That's just not for you, Dora, but that's for all. What am I willing to do to save my own life? And one of those things is to have a routine, some type of self-care routine. If that is praying, if that is meditating, if that is yoga, if that is exercise, if that's sitting on the phone talking to your girlfriend, if it's doing something with your sorority, whatever it is that brings you joy, every single day, we're supposed to have joy in our lives. We have the opportunity every day that we live to experience joy. But many times we don't, because we're focused in our heads about what we think we need to do, what we think we have to do, what we don't want to do, but we'll do it anyway. But now I have to say, what am I willing to do to have a joyful day? What am I willing to do to contribute to society? And part of you still being here is because you're meant to contribute to society, and you're not supposed to be sick.
Right.
And your parents aren't supposed to bury you. and your brother, you're probably his best friend. What would he do without you? So you got to get it together. You know what I'm saying? You know? And so I appreciate it because we're going to have another show and we're going to talk about dealing with dementia, because I have someone who I love very much who was a caregiver to someone else I love very much. And she was staying up and getting 3 hours of sleep every night, because if it wasn't caring for him, then she was doing laundry. She was cooking. She was cleaning. She was too stressed to sit down, but too stressed to go to sleep. And so we get into these cycles, and then those cycles are what begin to literally kill us.
Yes. And that is what landed me in the hospital. Yes. Was my repeated cycle. Yes. Anybody that knows me, they can break it down. What is Dora doing? She's going to work. Then depending on the day of the week, she's going to her parents' house. Mm-hmm. Then she's coming back home. Then she's getting back up, doing it again. Mm-hmm.
And when we keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, we know that's the definition of insanity. I'm not going to get on your door because you're so sweet and you already have enough stress. So I don't want you to be like, Jolina's beating me up on this show. I didn't come on here.
It's okay. You know, things happen for a reason. Yes. You know, like how I met you two happened mm-hmm. for a reason. Mm-hmm. It was a blessing. So I'm learning, you know, I'm still learning. You know, I'm hard-headed. I can admit that.
Yes.
And, you know, sometimes I want to do what I want to do. But I have learned that I can't do what I did.
Yes. Mm. Very good. Very good. And so I want to say to that point, many of us are strong. One of the reasons we are strong is because we've learned to be very independent, to be tough. And I think a lot of times men don't understand that because we're so independent, not because we necessarily want to be, but because we learned to be that way. And so that is really, you know, a big deal. Brittany said, Nurse Kim is dropping so many gems. Thank you. And then Brittany also had another comment: journaling, praying, taking that bath before bed are all good ways of self-care. The power of saying no and putting yourself first are mandatory. You can't help anyone else until you help yourself first. Now, see, Brittany's going to have to come on the show. That was fantastic, Brittany. Thank you so much. So those are some of the things I wanted people to know. So I think that's fantastic. Kim, did you have anything else you wanted? Nurse Kim, did you have anything else you wanted to share before we go back to Dora?
Well, after Brittany's comment, I'm going to go get me one of those bath bombs to relax and release some of the stress. So
exactly.
No, I just, you know, when I first heard Dora's story, I thought it was just amazing, and she was so honest, and I just appreciate her sharing that, because again, we have something in common in that my brother also has autism, is an adult with autism. He's 11 years younger than me. So I do worry about, you know, what will happen to him when I pass away or my parents pass away, what will happen? So you did help me with talking about ways that I can ensure that he's taken care of. So, and that's a stressor that I have. So
it is. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Kim.
I appreciate you.
Thank you. And then we have a comment from one of our most loyal viewers, Joy Beckton. She says, as an ex-flight attendant, I learned you have to put your oxygen mask on first. Yes. Then you can help someone else. A life lesson. Absolutely. Yes. Look, she stole my thunder in my final thoughts. Thank you. That is wonderful. Oh my goodness. It's so wonderful to have a team. You know what I mean? And Dora, that's what you have to realize. You do have a team of supporters. You know, you have prayer warriors. You have some good Delta friends now, even though you're AKA. and you have people people, whoever will see this, we have a small audience tonight, but people will continue to watch and they'll continue to watch. And I want people to realize that we just learn certain things, and it's time for us to stop them. And I wrote a book called Broken Conditions, and I didn't even think about talking about that tonight, but I wrote a book called Broken Conditions, and it's about how when we grow up, we see certain things and we learn to do them. And then until we realize, oh, that's a broken condition and it needs to be fixed, we often continue to do them until we finally get sick and tired of being sick and tired, or so sick that we can't do anything else but change our habits. And so I just want you and anyone who's listening to realize that you matter. You're important. You're here for a purpose. And if you don't live long enough and healthy enough, you won't be able to fulfill your purpose, and the world needs you. So that's what I want to say. Dora, I asked you to give some advice. So before we go, what is your advice? It could be to yourself, to us, or whatever.
Well, I think the first thing that I learned out of all of this was I have to come first.
Yes.
It's been a hard transition for me, very hard, because I'm used to putting other people first, and then whatever is left, I'll take for myself. But I was at a point where I was giving from an empty cup.
Absolutely. I was just looking at this cup saying, I'm going to talk about this empty cup, because when you do this, look, some little drops came out, right? And then guess what? It's a few more drops. Just this many drops, and then it's over, and then you have nothing else to give. And then guess what? This is when the stress flares.
Yes.
This is when the heart happens. This is when everything happens, because here's what we're doing. And it's like, we're
right. You're absolutely right. So, I mean, my other issue or rule of thumb that I learned is, if you are not feeling well, you have to go. We're running around here trying to be super women, and we're in pain or something's not right, and we know something's not right. We let it go because we don't have time to fix it. Because we're worrying about other things. So my next piece of advice is just, I don't care what it is. If your big toe hurts, go get it checked out, because you don't know where it will lead. You just don't know. And again, like I said, I ignored several signs, so those are the big things. Look out for yourself first, just like the oxygen mask. And then when you're not feeling at your best, get yourself checked out.
Yes. Dora, there's something on screen. Would you please read that out loud to us?
It says, "You have a true servant's heart, Dora."
That is this is my soror and my soror mama sister, and my previous 8th grade English teacher. And she is another of our faithful viewers, Narita Baker Bradford, and she knows what she's talking about, honey. Let me just tell you, okay? And that is the truth. You touched my heart when I heard your story. And I cry for you, because I know how it is when you think you have to do everything yourself. But I promise you, you don't. And all I'm asking you to do is practice, 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 taking care of yourself, and everything else will fall into place.
It's just practice. So hard.
Just practice. See, practice makes skilled, not perfect. So every day, you know what? Okay, I didn't even think about this. I have this thing. It's called the Cube. It's actually on my table. It's right here, okay? And this is actually, and I'm not promoting the product, but I use it. It's Joel Osteen's Cube. And so what happens is, when you push it, it gives a daily inspiration, and it also gives you a daily affirmation. And so Jody actually gave it to me, and then I loved it so much, so I started giving it to people. And Kim has one now. And it's so nice, because if you listen to the Cube, I'm going to send you one. Give me your address. Send me your text message. Okay. I'm so serious too. Okay. They're kind of expensive, so I'm not sending everybody one. I'm sending Dora one.
You get a cube. You get a cube.
Right, Kim.
Okay,
Right.
but what happens is it's so great because it's one message of inspiration every day, and it's usually some type of life lesson that helps us to realize certain things. So every day I just make a commitment to listening to the cube. Sometimes I forget, but I have people in my life who also listen to the cube. So somebody will text or somebody will say, "Hey, did you listen to the cube today? It was a good message." And then I'll listen. And so it's so nice because that's just something that incorporates, and the way you start your day really often dictates how your day's going to go. For me, I don't know about you guys, I don't know about you, Kim, but when I wake up on my own, even if it's early and I wake up on my own, I'm refreshed. But if I'm disturbed really early with a meaningless text, it really gets under my skin and it interrupts my sleep pattern. And then I have to fix myself, right? I just have to fix it. Now, I don't want to have to fix it, but I realize if I don't get myself together, I'm not going to be good for anybody. So I fix it, but it's a conscious effort that we have to do. And that's what I'm saying about our health. When it comes to a heart attack, when it comes to a stroke, when it comes to diabetes, all these different things that can go wrong, lupus, all these different things, we know that rest makes a difference. We know that diet makes a difference. We know that peace of mind makes a difference. So anyone who is on here, you just need to know that's important and you get to choose it. It's not normal, it's not natural, but you get to choose it. So that's what I would say. Okay. Well, Kim, I want to thank you for your great advice and being on the show. Thank you for your support. It is because of Kim that Authentic Joe is on the air, because she told me a few months ago, well, more than a few months ago, you need to do this. And I wasn't listening at first, Dora. And then I was like, And then she kept on telling me and hounding me.
And here you are.
She looks nice, but she's tough. And then here we are. So we have a team, and I want to say shout out to my executive producer, Chuck Deasy, who is keeping us together, making us look good. And I want to say, okay, we got a couple more comments here. So Brittany says, "Thank you, Dora, for sharing your testimony. Powerful message."
Thank you, Brittany.
Nona Walker says, "Creating healthy boundaries is key for self and peace of mind." Yeah. And Sean sent us, I think that's a happy face. And then he says LOL. And then Patrick says, "Good that you listen to Kim. Good that you listen to Kim." And he knows about that too. He's another hardworking person. Okay. So Dora, thank you again for sharing your testimony. I am going to follow up with that cube. And then I will ask you guys, would you please hang out? I'm going to do my final thoughts here, but would you all please stay in the studio and not hang and not leave?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you so much, ladies. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'm ready for my final thoughts. So I have some. There's my final thoughts. Little ding, don't you love it? I can't help it, you guys. This is fancy. Anyway, I just want to say thank you so much for watching today's episode, Matters of the Heart. Realizing that matters of the heart are much deeper than just our physical being, but it's also our mental, emotional, and psychological well-being. It's also our spiritual well-being. In order for you to have more love and more light in your life, you must be willing to receive it. And what I've told people often is, I don't want to fight you to love you. So I cannot really fight, but I'll give it a good try. So instead of fighting, I'm here trying to share more love and light. So my final thought is, be good to yourself. Be good to each other. Be good to yourself and each other. Be absolute good. Thank you so much for watching on YouTube. Thank you for watching on Facebook. Please share the links. Please like the links. Please talk about the channel. And thank you. And please, most importantly, be grateful for today. Be grateful for tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving, and be grateful for your life. And my cousin says, "Yes, Lord." And Narita Baker Bradford says, this is very good. She says, "Praying and meditations help." So, Aurora Kim, I love your advice. Thank you so much. Until next week, take care.